Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you could tell, we will be talking about a very large pattern change that will be occurring across the United States. Now, at this point, it is pretty much a guarantee that this thing will be taking hold. I usually talk about pattern changes kind of when there's still a question whether or not they will occur, but I was busy making videos about that. Obviously, that very large storm, there are really two of them, that nor'easter and that massive one across the west that is actually currently across the central United States. So this pattern change has been hinted by the models for many days now. It is pretty much a guarantee to occur. But the details of this, is there going to be a snowstorm with this pattern change? That right now, just for your information, it's not really clear whether or not there will be. There will be snow for some. Whether or not it's a large system for many, or is it a several systems, several small ones, several big snowstorms? And yes, there would be snow if it were occurring anywhere in the eastern United States, as it will be. I'll show you it. It looks as if it could be one of the first kind of opening Novembers, the coldest ones we've seen in a while. Now, I've been tracking the weather for a few years, to say the least, and usually the trend has been over the past decade that kind of winter has started a bit later and has gone dragged on into March and April. For example, my average here in Chicago over the last 10 years for April has gone up, while for November the snow has gone down, and that's over the course of several years. So this year might be the one that kind of breaks that trend. There could be snow for many, and nor'easter is possible. It's a potential, right? Upper Midwest kind of blizzard, a heavy lake effect snow for many as well. We'll have to wait and see. And again, I'll be talking about all of that in today's video. And before we get into this, if you guys do enjoy this video, do enjoy this channel at any point in this video, if you would like to consider subscribing to it, that would help out a lot. Obviously, I'm saying that not because I'm telling you to, but just reminding that if you do enjoy it, consider subscribing. Same thing with liking the video. And if you have any comments, concerns, questions, feel free to leave them down below. Otherwise, let's start talking about this. So first off, I want to take a look at the GFS model. I'll show you many models, and I'll show you as many as I can. Again, it's not so much trying to decipher whether or not this will happen, because every single model that I'm going to show you shows a pattern change. It's just a matter of what will happen. Regardless, let me run this through you. So this is the most latest GFS model run. It hasn't even gone out fully. You could see it stops at hour 300. It hasn't processed all the way to hour 384 yet. But let me play it and show you. Again, a very warm pattern, very stormy right now. Notice we have the big beast spinning away. By the way, here's the timeline. This is 7 a.m., 1 p.m., October 31st. This is Monday, Tuesday. And look, we have a pretty large cool air mass. Notice the lake effect, right? On both sides of the lake. Look, there's a nor'easter potentially according to the GFS. Some snow across Kansas and Nebraska. Lingering cold. And this is, again, each model run seems to be slightly different. You can see as this one kind of went through, it showed that we have that cool lobe of air moving in this weekend. Along with that, a bit of snow for, say, North Platte and Colorado, Kansas, maybe into Illinois, Indiana. We'll have to see. And look, rides up through the southern Canadian cities. Then we have eastern lake effect, on the kind of the western shores of the lakes instead of the eastern. We have that nor'easter potential. Let me just show you that the model run prior to this, the GFS, they all show that cold air, but it didn't show a nor'easter. It didn't really show as much lake effect. So again, there's our, let's play this up from hour 0 and play this forward. Again, same timeline, but again, it's just a different model run, so it has different data, if you will, and it makes a lot of difference. So there's our big system. There's our lobe of cool air moving in on Monday, a bit later than what maybe the most recent one model shows. A bit less snow from Nebraska. It does show a weak cold front, kind of maybe some snow. You can see there is some lake effect, but again, a lot less snowy, but the cold air is most definitely present, and it shows several invasions of it rather than one prolonged one. You could see that it does warm things up with the big ridge, this GFS model run, but you could see the cold air starts sliding back in. Let's take a look at the 6 Z o'clock. Let me just keep showing you these model runs. I will stop at this one, and I'll move on to a different model, but again, each model that I'm going to show you has many model runs, and all of them differ from their model runs and the different models. So notice there's our lobe of cold air into Wednesday, Thursday of next week. This is the one from 6 o'clock in the morning. Notice it really didn't show any snow systems, and it brought back the warm air in pretty quickly. And you can see that was for most of the hour 200s. It brought a lot of warm air in. It did show some snowstorms, but a bit later on in the forecast period. And that's a massive difference from the one that we even have right now. That's the newest afternoon model run. This is what it shows at hour 246, right? This is what it showed in the morning. this is not what it thinks will happen, right? I mean, that's a colossal change. Was there a cold outbreak? Yes. Was there an increase of snowfall? Yes. Again, it's just a difference of what the models do. Taking a look at the anomaly. So this basically tells us where the temperatures are above or below average for what given kind of date and time. And notice that anywhere in the orange it's above average, anywhere in the blue it's below. Let me run this through as well and show you. So this is October 27th, so that's today. And let's just play this day by day, the 29th, the 30th. We do have a bit of cool air across the south, but mainly warm into Halloween weekend. After that, that's when the cold air starts spilling, especially look how centered it is across the south. Again, very chilly air, especially compared to what we've been seeing, which is warm air. And look, that thing just lingers, that cold air. It doesn't get swept away. So again, it shows cold air, and it's been consistently showing that. And look, it's so stubborn that it still shows at hour 300, which is rather unbelievable for one air mass to be that prolonged. Again, it does show obviously that warm air is starting to intrude, and that would be pretty much inevitable, as one pattern doesn't last forever, ever. That's not ever a thing. And notice that, it's long enough the way it played out anyway. So this is the model run prior to this afternoon's, and I want to show you. So you saw that it showed some warm air at the end, but look, this is today, and now moving forward, you can see positive 24, 30, 36. A lot of warm air, again, moving into the holiday weekend, Halloween weekend, and we do have that bit of that cold air, which does spill in, look, Tuesday, right? So again, it shows cold air, and if you recall, this was the model run that didn't really show any snow, but the cold air looks almost identical. It lingers it around for as long as the most recent one does, or maybe actually a bit less. And it does bring in some of that warm air, which again, we're not done with warm air, but warm air in November is different than warm air in August, right? You won't be seeing 90s in Minnesota or Iowa, maybe 40s with the warm air mass, and with the cool one, probably, 30s. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I'm going to show you some more models. First off, actually, though, GEFS, this is an ensemble. So these are many, many models from a family, because the GFS is kind of from a family of 31 models, and it's often good to look at what all of them show, because it's just kind of bad to see what one shows. But look, it's a trend because it's warm into the holiday weekend, and again, these are many models combined, so it's less aggressive, and with the cold air, and it's more equaled out, because look, there's many of them, but they still show all that cold air. Look into most of them next week. Friday, Saturday, November 6th, it's definitively showing that most models show that cool air. And they too kind of disagree on when to disappear that cold air, if you will, and whether or not to replace it with warm air. You can see that there is some sort of a trend towards warm air. It's not a big trend, and it's not anything that's significant, I would say. So again, obviously, I think it will be letting up in the severity of the cold air, but will there be another cold blast, or will there be a warming pattern following that? It's tough to tell, but again, what we're all just focused on right now is what's going to happen from this cold Arctic blast. Now, European ensemble. So this is a model, or an ensemble of 51 models. So yes, if all 50 are kind of averaged and they're showing cold air, it's a pretty good signal, and you could pretty much not argue against that. That's going to happen. I'll show you what the Climate Prediction Center thinks, and again, it's all on par with what the models are showing. So look at that. This one goes faster because you could see it jumps by increments of many hours, not just 6. So look, there is today, the 27th. This is now into holiday weekend, and look at all that cool air spilling out. The European ensembles are definitely agreeing on that, and actually the European by itself is probably the most aggressive out of that ensemble. Look at that. I mean, look at some of these anomalies. Boom. Well, granted, this is not the 2-meter temperature anomalies. These pretty much correlate with what's going to be at the 2 meters, because I could show you a different website, and it'll be the same thing. I won't, because I don't have time, and I kind of want to focus on the things I have to show, not that I can show. Yeah. So you can trust me on that one. And the Canadians, right? The Canadian models, very good models, very good ensemble. I don't know how much they consist of. I'm sorry, this is an ensemble. This is just one model. Again, I don't like this model, I've said before, for its temperatures, but let's see what it shows. So again, this is the same. You can see that trend, right? Cooler this weekend, but by Monday, so a Halloween passed already, we have that cold air. You can see the Canadian kind of lingers it more toward the north. It doesn't bring it to the south immediately like the other models do, but they do eventually, or the Canadian does eventually bring it down. And just to show you, that was the the 850 millibars temp anomaly, so that's a bit higher up in the atmosphere. But let's take a look at the 2 meter temperature anomaly, and again, it's not like it's going to show a heat wave. There will be a few differences with that cold air kind of coverage. It's going to be more kind of oriented towards the west rather than what I showed you that first run. But you can see right there spilling into the weekend. And yeah, definitely a cold air signal across the, I would say, a good 2/3, if not 3/4 of the country at one given point in the next 2 weeks. And look, it does show pretty significant anomalies ranging in a 8 to 12 degree kind of below average range. Now, yes, so those are the models I kind of wanted to show you: the European, the Canadian, the GFS. The pattern change looks likely. Now I want to show you some of the Climate Prediction Center just to kind of solidify this in concrete, if you will. Yeah, 8 to 14 days, this is what they're suggesting. So this is pretty far out, into middle of November almost, and not quite, but almost there. And look, they're again favoring that below average because if you recall, that cold air starts across the north and kind of spills towards the south, towards the end. So, but at this time frame, it will be kind of on the southern side of the United States, but still potentially, cooler. And we'll have to see what the models show. Another cool blast or some of this warm air moving in, and that's a bit kind of the $1,000,000 question. In terms of precip, it's hard to tell. Again, if a snowstorm occurs, if it does formalize, it could be a much wetter event. If not, then not. But that's why they have only they're confident in above average for the west, not really the south or really anywhere else. It's near normal, maybe just certain regions that they have confidence in it being drier. All of this gray pretty much shows that they're not really confident, and I would say that's a pretty good estimate because there's nothing to be confident about. 6 to 10 days, so this is less further out. Again, you can see the cold air is there, but it's again more further towards the north and northwest, and eventually in the 8 to 14, which I showed you, it does slide more towards the south and east, and you can see that the warm air is much limited and the cold air is much more expansive. I mean, covering the 3/4 of the country, maybe a bit less. But yeah, definitely a expansed air mass, and they're most confident about the Midwest seeing the coolest of the temperatures. Look at that right there. We do see a bit of those dry conditions across the southwest and kind of the upper plains, perhaps, in the 6 to 10 day range, but a lot wetter across the south, the northeast, the northwest. So again, somewhere in here, there could be a snowstorm that sneaks down. Yes, even potentially into the Missouri, Illinois, Kansas area. There are some rather interesting models that the Europeans especially show. The European models, I should say, not Europeans. And some of them, yeah, I mean, you could see this isn't significant snow, but what that shows, that little gray, those kind of, really, those gray amounts, which is just the dusting, it just shows that it's going to be cold enough for snow all the way down well into potentially southern Tennessee. Now, again, I don't think there will be snowstorm that sets across the southern U.S. at this time frame. It's just too far out, and it's just too early in winter. But anywhere kind of else that usually would see snow around this time of the year, I would say that it's going to be probably your first good chance for that. And then you can see this one shows a storm across Nebraska. This one, again, kind of across the same area we were talking about yesterday. The west, you can see, just gets clobbered with pretty much every single model showing very heavy snowfall to a certain extent. Again, not all. You can see this one really didn't, but look, it shows snow across New York into Illinois, Indiana, with a little band of snow there. And as we push this forward, you can see it shows a lot of snow for southern Canada. The prairies, the plains, they've been missing out on the snow so far in precip, so that'll be good. You can see definitely decent snows here. Decent chances. Or look at that batch right there across Quebec. That is just absolutely insane. And as we push this forward, you can see some bring it into Illinois, the snow. So, again, no real indicator of, there's going to be a snowstorm occurring, an individual storm, which is why I'm not titling this about an individual system. I'm just saying that a cold and snowy pattern is potentially unleashing, because you could see this one shows snow well in this arrangement, and the model right next to it shows it in a different manner completely. You can see some of them don't show a lot for the southern Canadian plains, and some of them show a lot more. And some show for Illinois, right, and into Missouri. Some showed for Nebraska, and others focus it more on the plains. So there's endless differences, and it would be foolish for me to try finding a pattern. Look at this one. Look how far south that brings it into Texas, into Mexico, and into Missouri, Arkansas, potentially. Portion of the kind of almost the southern United States, if you will. The large cities of Canada getting impacted by this model run. This one, again, shows an odd scenario. This one does as well. This one shows its own thing. This one does as well. Again, you can see there's no real consistency that each model shows the same thing, other than maybe very heavy snow across the mountain ranges across the west, which really anyone that cares about humans should be happy about that. As if anyone needs snow and rain, despite I know a lot of snow lovers, I want some snow as well. They need it the most across the west. Let's not get our kind of dreams and wishes about the snow get into the way of rational thinking, right? The West definitely needs it the most, as they use that for their snowpack, and they have, or their water next year when the snowpack melts. They've had pretty bad years of drought. We've all heard about that storm that happened this weekend. Again, despite those amounts, nothing really. It's not to cure any sort of drought. Maybe just to prevent the wildfires from starting. This kind of putting an end to the wildfire season. But thankfully, these amounts are definitely encouraging. And look at this model. I mean, bring snow maybe into the tip of Mississippi for November. I mean, this takes us through the first half of November. Not even. That's extremely impressive. And yes, it doesn't show a massive storm, but you know that if it's cold enough here for snow across the plains, it will be probably temperatures in the teens. So yeah, I mean, look at this one. It doesn't show that snow that far to the south, but more to the north. But it's a snowstorm. Look at this one. I mean, there are so many ensembles, and there's so many different. Look, this one shows a nor'easter. This one shows something of similar magnitude. So a very snowy and very cold. It's gonna be surprising, because I mean, we've seen one snowstorm this year. Literally one snowstorm of any kind that was even worthy of talking about. And there was obviously a few mountain events, a few smaller. Yeah, it really was just that one across Wyoming and kind of the South Dakota, Minnesota, or Montana area. Anywhere else, it's been warm. And that seems to be coming to a crashing halt as, well, yeah, an invasion of cold air and obviously snow. So this is the European ensembles. You could see that they just showed a ton of different things. I want to show you the GEFS. So these are, again, 31 members. I can't show you the whole entire United States like I did with the previous ensembles. But at least I could show you all of them at once. But unfortunately, again, just region by region. Let's put it on the Midwest, where this is especially where some of the coldest conditions could be occurring. So this is the newest model run. It only goes out to 186, and in those hours, some of the models do already paint decent snow across Nebraska, maybe in South Dakota, right? But really, most of that activity would be kind of happening behind that time frame. So let's jump ahead to a previous model run that goes further out, and look how many show snow across the United States, and pretty far south. Look at this one, that one, this one into Iowa or Kansas. A lot of them are beefy with those snowfall totals. Now there are a few, right, that don't show a lot, really, or any across the plains. But compared to yesterday, when there was mainly quite a bit of those, it's quite a drastic change. Look at this. This is what it was yesterday. This is what the models were showing. Look at that. I mean, there's one model right here that didn't show it, one right here, one right here. There was like about half of them were not showing a snowy pattern. Now, with the new model run, I mean, it's a ton. And I'm curious to see, once this one comes in, if the trend continues and there's going to be more snowy scenarios. And based on what I'm looking at right here, I think so. So this is becoming more and more confident again. Very cool. Winter is probably going to be, again, starting early. That doesn't mean that it can't be a warm-up in December, and probably will be because of this. But yeah, definitely a snow chance for many large cities. And I think it's something to be more or less excited about. Let me just show you. No, I already showed you pretty much everything I wanted to. I was going to show you just the EPS members. And I could show you, sorry, let's go to the EPS overall, and I could show you the temperature anomalies that they show. But I think I already did that on Tropical Tidbits, but just for you to look at this again. Again, it's been warm. There's going to be a bit of cool air, and they really start showing a lot of that cool air by that kind of early November time frame after Halloween. And yeah, you can see they linger it for a while. I mean, and the warm air kind of staves off. I think it will eventually be some sort of a warm-up, but it might not be long-lasting, and it might not be massive as well. We'll have to wait and see, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. See ya. Bye.